Welcome back. Long awaited, but we here. We ready to go today. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Hit the like button for me on your way in. Let me know if my sound is clear. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Who we got in the chat this afternoon? Check in. And today, really quickly, I don't want to make this too long. I got a few things I got to take care of this afternoon, but yeah, I wanted to jump in. I got a few people that were asking me. It's crazy because for a while, maybe a few weeks ago, I was on, I guess, my channel almost every day, every other day. And I had individuals saying, well, hey, are you even still running a truck? You a full-time content creator? Like, what's going on? So then I get back in the truck. And, I've been running pretty hard almost every day. I mean, I just finished up a load last night. So, I mean, it's been pretty solid. But then I started to get individuals asking, well, hey, are you, doing content? What's going on? Why you're not making content? So you can't win either way, pretty much is what I'm getting at. But like I said, today I want to do this live stream really quickly and give you guys my 10 trucking truths, from my experiences from being in the trucking industry, from a cargo van to a box truck over the course of the last 6 years. So I don't want to make it really long-winded. I really got to get out of here pretty quickly. Like I said, as you guys come in, hit the like button, drop a comment in the chat. See what we got in here. KMB in the building. Shot Town, appreciate you. FTS, I ain't seen you in a minute. What's happening? Good to hear from you. Yeah, but we're going to get right into it. Like I said, y'all can tap in, drop any questions pertaining to the topics at hand, if you will, and it should be a really good live stream. But one of the first things that I learned, hold on, one of the first things that I've learned from, like I said, being in the trucking industry, more specifically box trucking more recently, the first thing that I've learned, and I've had to kind of battle with myself about this, because from when I started, rates were substantially different. It's a drastic change that's occurred over the course of, say, the last maybe 2 to 3 years. So since I've started, over the course of the last few years, it's been drastic changes pertaining to volume, rates, saturation, and so forth. The rates that I was getting, in 2021, 2022, even beforehand in a cargo van, where I was able to secure 90 plus cent per mile in that sector, now it's a whole different ball game, even there. But in box trucking more specifically, it was really easy to secure $3, $4, even $5 per mile. And something I talked about, in the past, I still today continue to sort of run my truck like I ran a rental, pertaining to what rates I take, how I track mileage, things of that nature. So with running in that manner, something that I've just had to come, to realize over the course of, say, the last 2 to 3 years is pretty much low volume trumps rate per mile. Oftentimes I will harp on, trying to get the maximum rate per mile. Now, I'm not saying by any means that I'm running for cheap. That's not what I'm saying, but attempting to always secure above average on a regular basis sometimes can be counterproductive. And that's something that I had to kind of just say to myself, hey, you want to look at a work week as a whole, as opposed to load by load. Your weekly rate per mile is way more important than your daily rate per mile. It's kind of what I'm getting at. So for me, that was one of the main things that I struggled with. Just sitting on the load board, wasting time, which is something else that I'm going to talk about, but just wasting a bunch of time trying to secure the highest rate per mile. Like I said, I'm not running for cheap. I'm not doing anything for less than $2 per mile. But at the same time, I want to get on, find something that I can make profit on and get rolling. I don't want to be up till 4 or 5 a.m. trying to secure, a last minute top dollar load. So that's kind of what, like I said, I'm not going to run for cheap by any means, but it's times where a load is profitable. And me negotiating or me waiting, will end up making me either lose the load or, just end up wasting a lot of time. So what I've learned, like I said, is to get on, find something that's profitable and get moving. That's way better than trying to secure, like I said, the highest rate per mile on a day-to-day basis, especially in today's times where you have saturation. Like I said, it's very competitive. The loads don't sit. Certain individuals are trying to get to certain areas, so they'll take them for cheaper and so forth. So this is something that I would advise a lot of individuals, which I think right now, everybody has kind of come off of their high horse, if you will. And, a lot of individuals are running for lesser. Like I said, I have standards, but at the same time, I'm just, not going to sit on the load board all day long looking for loads, attempting to secure the highest rate. So that's just something I had to learn over the course of, like I said, the last few years. I remember when I started, there used to be $500 to $600 loads on Amazon load board just sitting there. Loads were extremely plentiful and profitable. Today is far and few between. Exactly. Yep. And me and FTS, we run out of the same areas, the same facilities. I've seen him out and about on different occasions. So he understands what's going on in our market. And like he's saying right now, yeah, the lows are far and few. You just have to almost sit and wait it out, kind of stalk that low board in order to secure, something higher than average. Back in the day, that wasn't so much the case. Like I said, they would sit, they would increase and so forth. You also have to add AI into the equation now, which I'm going to be doing a really good video. I already got it kind of planned out. I just got to find the time to, get some of this stuff done. Like I said, I'm either running hard or then I'm on here. It's like trying to find that perfect balance, which honestly, it is no perfect balance. You just got to do things when you can. But, I've had occasions where I've been able to do content. I've just had a little other stuff going on pertaining to just making progress with other things that I'm going to talk about a little later. My studio, first of all, so I'll talk about that really quick. After my last live stream, I began to clean maybe like a 3-foot section of the carpet. That turned into the entire space. I mean, deep cleaning, I spend large amounts of time in that area. So I deep cleaned the area. It's been wet for like 2 weeks. It's just dried all up. So that's kind of what I've been, doing as well, and why I haven't been, quick to jump on the internet, because I've had that going on. Like I said, it started with a small section, and I'm just like, well, I might as well do the whole thing. And then it became more in depth than what I expected. So it was days and days and days of cleaning. And then I had a sitting and a living area. So I started throwing away furniture. Yeah, it was a whole different deal. But I got that straightened out. But that's ate up a lot of the time that I would have been streaming when I've been home. But let's keep moving. Sherrod, what's happening, Sherrod? Appreciate you for tapping in. Everybody hit the like button on your way in. And we're going to run through this real quick. So the next thing that I've learned from being in the trucking industry is, and this is an important one, the early bird gets the worm. Wrong spot. I do that at least once a string. The early bird gets worm. So pertaining to load boards, brokers, dispatchers, even with Amazon and different loads and things of that nature, you have to be up early and active, each day in order to keep the truck moving as well as be profitable. Throughout the day, you'll see loads trickle down, with Amazon. If you got a 100% performance score, at certain times you can find little, decent loads to supplement the runs that you're doing at night during the day. But like FTS was saying, those are far and few. So you have to be up early, like I said, active, contacting these brokers, in contact with dispatchers on these spot relay load boards in order to keep trucks moving. And that's something I've had to learn myself. Usually I'm running overnight. So I see stuff 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. But if you're not up by, say, 6 a.m., searching or, trying to secure some type of load, it's a good chance that you may not be able to move your truck for that day. So that's just something to think about pertaining to, getting up and out. Also preparation, pre-tripping the truck, having everything ready to go, all of that stuff matters pertaining to moving a truck and just organization in general. If possible, you want to try to follow some type of schedule. I know that's almost impossible in the trucking industry, but like I said, the early bird is the worm. You want to be up and at them, active, in order to make contact with different resources for loads. And that's something I've had to learn and tell myself, over the course of me maturing as a business owner. The next thing that, like I said, as I've grown, I've come to understand in the trucking industry, patience is a virtue. So on a day-to-day basis, you have traffic that you're dealing with, loads, detention, being detained, waiting, you know, that can get testy. Personnel, how you're dealing with them, different issues that could come up, other distractions just in your day-to-day dealings and, everyday life. Things are going to come up. So you have to understand that your understanding may not be his or her understanding. So you want to be patient with individuals on a day-to-day basis. Like, this stuff can get stressful. So, like I said, you want to remain focused and disciplined when you're out here in your day-to-day dealings. That really matters. You don't want to be running around all high strung, on edge, and things of that nature. It's just, it's not a good look, and it's not good for business in general. So that was the next thing that I had to learn. Next, and this is something I've talked about in the past as well. It comes up, but ignorance is no excuse. So in the trucking industry, in day-to-day business dealings, I don't know, I did not know, it does not fly. Point blank, period. It's not going to be acceptable. You will be held accountable. We've seen some of that in the space recently, which I'll probably talk about a little later on. It was something sent to me a while ago. And for a while, I thought it was old. I didn't watch it. Days and days later, I did. And I'm going to touch on that at a later date. But once again, like I said, you will be held accountable. I've talked about this. Ignorance is no excuse. I worked a security job way back in the past, and I had a security manager. Her name was Nancy. And, I had got myself raveled up in something, fell asleep in the car on break, something like that, didn't wake up, came back late, whatever. But that was something that she told me. She said, you can say I did not know this, that, and the other, but ignorance is no excuse. So you have to do the legwork to have an understanding on what the requirements are. Deer in the headlights, I didn't know, I didn't understand. Like I said, it's not going to fly pertaining to day-to-day dealings in business. So that's just something I had to learn, and I want to put out there for you guys. Next, and this is a big one: sourcing and retaining drivers or good help. It ain't easy. It's not easy. Not only is it not easy, but it's expensive. It's also time consuming, and it's stressful. Dealing with different personality types, lazy individuals, unorganized individuals, things of that nature, operating equipment, damaging equipment, burning up brakes, all of this stuff, hurts you in the long run, business-wise. So, like I said, just the process of going out and searching for help is going to cost you money, but paying individuals to not do what they're supposed to do, because you have to understand, even if you discipline an individual, even if you have to part ways with someone, either way it goes, and I've experienced this, you still have to pay them for the work that they've already completed. So you can't say, hey, you didn't do this or you didn't do that, so I'm not going to pay you. That's not going to fly. So whatever the behavior is when you work a job, whatever happened, up until the time they put you out of there, they walked you out, or they suspended you, you were paid. So this is something that's going to have to occur with personnel. So like I said, that side of it gets expensive. It's also time consuming, training, disciplining, reprimanding, getting rid of and finding new drivers, this revolving door within this trucking industry, all of that stuff, it's time consuming. Like I said, it's also stressful. It's times when I wasn't in the truck that I felt like I was or would rather have been. And that's just being 100% honest with you. I'm like, I might as well be in the truck if I'm getting phone calls at 2, 3, 4 in the morning about simple things that any individual with common sense would be easily able to take care of. You're going to get that. Crazy phone calls, personal phone calls, pay advances, all of this stuff comes with drivers. And like I said, it gets stressful. If you haven't dealt with it, you won't understand, but it gets very stressful, especially over a long period of time, especially dealing with 4, 5, 6 individuals, 2 or 3 of these individuals being highly negligent. So, yeah, like I said, I can remember, vividly of, different instances I've had with drivers. And oftentimes you would rather just honestly be in the equipment yourself. So that's just something that I've dealt with from my experiences. And let me look at some comments really quickly. Detroit, Michigan in the building. I felt that, bro. For my final mile contract, I had a couple helpers I went through before I found my current guy. Been my guy for 2 years now. Paying them very well is key. Exactly. Paying them very well and just finding somebody with common sense and that halfway want to work. Like, you don't even have to be the hardest worker in the world, but like I said, it's just people that are coming there give you all of this hope of what they can do and what they're going to bring to the business. And then later on down the line, you just realize it was all BS. And the individual, like I said, is delinquent. They're unable to take care of minimal, easy, just common sense tasks. And like I said, just getting a bunch of phone calls. So if you get a self-starter or I would try to look for someone like myself. And I just feel like that's hard to find. I also understand that nobody is going to approach or work for your business the way you are willing to. I see people's trucks broke down. I got something that I'm going to put in a really good video where an individual, and I caught it. I made a video because I'm sitting in the truck. I look to the left. It's like 2, 3 a.m. And I'm like, where is all this fluid? It's not water. So I'm like, no, that's trans fluid. So it's a truck sitting 2 spots over from me running. It's a semi, it's a day cab. So I'm looking at the ground. I'm like, no, he running trans fluid. He blew at least a line or a hose. And so then as I'm sitting there, because he's in the truck stop, the bottom of the truck starts to smoke. So now you're burning up the transmission. Anytime you run all of the fluid out of a transmission, you need to shut the vehicle off. You don't let a vehicle run with a transmission that has no fluid. It's going to destroy it. So I'm looking and now I'm like, man, when he come back, I'm going to tell him. He came back. He got in the truck. I flagged him. I'm like, hey, I think you running transmission fluid from, the bottom of the truck. And he like, oh man, thanks. He's like, good thing that I pulled over. He said he had a tire issue as well. So he was like, good thing I pulled over because I wouldn't even notice this. So he was going to end up broke down on the side of the road. Luckily, he was in a spot at Thornton's. So, he was at least, but you'll see that as well. It didn't matter. The truck ended up staying there. So he ended up leaving. And I asked him, I'm like, is this your truck? He explained to me that no, he was working for someone. So imagine what the bill was for that owner operator. And that truck, it smoked for a while. And I told him, I was like, because I thought it was still running. I'm like, hey, you should probably cut the truck off because you're going to burn the trans up. And he's like, well, it cut itself off. So I'm like, oh, so the truck shut itself down. But like I said, I watched it run and smoke for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And so I'm like, man, that's not good. But, I'm just thinking in the sense of if it was my truck, if I was that owner operator, because he called him and he was thorough about looking all under the truck, checking the hoses. And eventually, because I ain't going to sit here and you got people like that, weirdos that, you see a person in a bad situation and you just be sitting there, just watching them and just weirdos. So after I told him to cut the truck off, I put my curtains up and went to sleep. And by the time I got back up, which probably was maybe 3-4 hours later, they were about to, that's what woke me up. The tow truck was about to tow the truck. So the owner operator at least incurred a tow bill. This was a semi. He had a trailer attached. And yeah, I remember the name of the company, but yeah, so things like that happen. And if you got an irresponsible individual, behind the wheel of your truck, a small expense can easily become a large expense. So who you're hiring and, the individuals that you choose to deal with pertaining to personnel in your trucking company gravely matters. You want to take time with hiring individuals. Like FTS is saying, it took him a period of time to find the right individual. And, I've experienced the same thing. It was probably the last individual that I dealt with pertaining to drivers / helpers, because I had, drivers and helpers. I had individuals that never drove the truck. They went in and assisted other individuals. And over time, like your go-to guy, you put them kind of in a leadership role. So I had a guy that was 69 when he started for me. And he was a trainer. And then I had a couple other individuals that train from time to time. But you want to be careful about who's doing the training if you're not doing it yourself. But you should be able to train somebody that's trustworthy that can then train other individuals. I learned that I didn't even want to spend that much time with new employees pertaining to training them for 2 and 3 weeks. So for me, it's imperative that when you are hiring, you get somebody that can move you away from, the employees. Of course, you want to meet them, kind of show your face, but training is something different. That's a day-to-day thing. It's more interpersonal. So for me, I learned from training individuals that I didn't want to be in a truck with individuals for 3-4 weeks. To some individuals, like I said, it just can't get it a month and a half or 2. No. So you want to have a trainer, a trustworthy individual that's able to deal with the employees and keep a barrier between you and them. I meet them, I greet them, speak to them, pat them on the back. Hey, you're doing a great job. And then I'm moving out of the way and I'm going to let my trainer deal with them and report back to me. That's how you kind of want to structure it. Once you can. Initially, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to train probably multiple individuals. But what I'm saying is over the course of a period of time, you want to create that barrier When do you go into a company and you see the big guy training the entrant employees? You don't. The entry employees usually don't even know who the big boss is for a period of time. You know, it takes a while, and then they'll start, oh, that's him. And, you know, they see him come and go, but he might be on a poster or a picture in the, you know, the hallway when you come in, but, you know, you're usually not just right there with, you know, the big boss. So that's just something to think about. You know it was kind of long, but yeah, a lot of that's important because you would think that I'm going to train everybody. You want to train, you know, the first few individuals. And then, like I said, find somebody responsible. Box Truck Gang, what's happening? Appreciate you for tapping in. Hit the like button on y'all way in. And we're going to run through this real quick. Quentin, what's happening? What's happening? What's up, pimp? Your content is on point. I like how you operate. Curry and Relay, 1K minimum per day. Just Curry direct deposit 1 to 3 days. Yes, sir. Curry been on point. I just did a Curry for $575, and yeah, they put the payment in about 3 hours after I finished the load, and yeah, they paying next day on some loads. Some loads it take 24 hours, so that may pertain to how the customer pays. Not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But some Curry loads, they pay out almost immediately. Others, it's initiated 24 hours after you complete the load, and then you're paid out 24 hours from that. So technically, that'll be a 48-hour turnaround. So that's kind of how they do that, Quentin. Appreciate you. Like I said, if you're here right now, you ain't hit the like button for me one time. Y'all got a lot of content that I want to get out. It's just finding time, and like I said, that work-life balance, because this for me be work. I mean, I love, you know, doing it, you know, and all of my subscribers, but at the same time, like I have to have that balance, because like I say, I have people that'll say, hey, are you still in the truck? I asked somebody, you still running the truck, or you just a full-time content creator? And I'm like, damn, I got to get back in the truck. Then they like, you making content or no? I can't win. So, you know, but I appreciate everybody, you know, people that reach out to me, check up on me, you know, appreciate you. So Running Warrior in the building. Appreciate you, Running Warrior. Yeah, man, I'm great, man. I was just telling my story, but yeah, had a little project around the house. I've been in the truck almost every day, and yeah, just a bunch of other stuff that I won't get into. But man, I have so much stuff going on that, yeah, I just have to find the time to, you know, check in with you guys. But like I said, I appreciate all the support, everybody for checking in. And yeah, we're gonna move through this. But yeah, I definitely want to engage too. Abe and Jazz, how's Amazon? Amazon is stable. If I had to speak on the state of Amazon right now, I would say it's stable, to say the least. Some of this I'll get into at another time, but what I will say, it's almost imperative right now that you at least like a 98% or better. You know, I had a slip up, you know, I did my little bit of time. It was 6 weeks, and, you know, I'm back at 100%, and it was something simple, you know, which I'm going to talk about. I really was in the right, but I just took it. I ain't even reach out to my, you know, my performance manager or whatever, because it just be a whole long outdrawn process. But what happened was I was on the road one day. I'm just booking loads, all type of loads. They just keep coming up. So at some point, I booked the load for like 3 p.m. The load was going a total of 7 miles. I'm picking up at 3 p.m. I check out by 3:40. Y'all got me with a drop time of like 8 p.m. I'm going 7 miles. Ain't no way it's gonna take me to 8 p.m. to drop this load. So me, because I've done this in the past with loads like that, if I see something else, I book that as well. And something came up for like 7:30 p.m. So I booked it. The app flagged me and wouldn't let me assign myself. So had I had a driver, and that's why I was like, man, this is why you need drivers. Had I had a driver, it wouldn't have happened. I was done with the load within an hour. So I checked out by like 3:20, ran over the Crest Hill because that's where it was going, dropped it, but the app was still flagging me. It was trying to reject the load. I'm finessing. So I'm taking myself off one load, putting myself on the other load, waiting for it to alert me on this load, and then moving myself back to keep the loads from rejecting. Because it's a timer. If you take off a load, it's going to be like a 20-minute countdown. It's telling you to add a driver. If you don't add a driver within that time, it signals ROC to say, hey, this trip don't got a driver. So I'm 19 minutes, then I switch myself back and I'm on this trip, but I'm active on this trip. So I'm doing this back and forth. One time the staff member started talking to me and it hit 20 minutes. So then ROC called me. I ain't answer. I'm still switching the trips back and forth, and I made it. Or at least I thought I did. I made a video. It's somewhere. I have to find it. I'm gonna put it out eventually. But yeah, I thought I made it. And then boom, not even right when the performance score changed from Saturday to Sunday, but like Tuesday, it hit my performance score. And I'm like, oh, come on now. So they hit me with a disruption, saying one of my trips didn't have a driver assigned for a period of time. But being 100% honest with you, if I didn't think to swap myself from trip to trip for like an hour straight, it would have been a rejection, which would have been way worse. So I really got lucky in that situation. But yeah, you definitely got to be careful out here, you know, and they'll ding you super quick. And like I said, it really shouldn't have happened. It was not an overlap in the trip. But right now, you know, for whatever reason, that app is just highly sensitive. And like I said, there's no way 7 miles is going to take me 4 hours to load, drive to 7 miles and unload. But the app saw it that way. So yeah, they dinged me on it, and yeah, it happens. But like I said, it's stable. Right now, I'm back at 100%. This happened probably 6-7 weeks ago. But yeah, you just got to be careful with the app. It's a lot of that I'm going to talk about, you know, when I get the time, but just a lot of the changes. Once again, with Amazon Relay, it's just a bunch of stuff that's once again changed, and you got to be careful. It's stuff that you used to be able to do 2-3 years ago, you know, within the app that you cannot do now, or you can do, but they are aware of it and they're reaching out about it. So that's just something to keep in mind pertaining to running relay. It's a lot of veteran, you know, relay owner ops and drivers that, like I said, are aware of some certain loopholes. They are not loopholes so much anymore. You know, it's just when and where they decide to say something. So, you know, some of this I'm gonna touch on later, but you just got to kind of be careful overall within the app. And then let's see, you must have been on that money run. For us broke folks, I'm included. Include me in with the broke folk. Jeff in the building. What's happening, Jeff? Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I had shot you an email back from when you had emailed me the sleeper. I don't think you responded to it. What do I know about auctions contracts? Not a whole lot. You know, I try to really run Amazon is most profitable off of the spot load board. Like I said, I kind of try to, you know, pace myself pertaining to how, you know, I'm booking and what I'm booking. You know, I don't want to, you just try to push for top dollar all the time. But at the same time, a lot of those contracts to me don't make sense. They also tie your truck up sometime for 14 hours throughout the day. Also, something I'm going to talk about, those T-type loads that Amazon run with the bobtail legs are getting a lot of people, you know, just raveled up in a bunch of different issues pertaining to pay first and foremost, because Amazon is able to cancel legs of those bobtail T-type loads. Why I say T-type, because they start with a T. Usually those loads, legs of them can be canceled once you bobtail to particular facilities. When they're canceled, Amazon will change the rate without alerting or your approval. So you may be, and this has happened to me, I had a load for, it was like $753. One of the legs canceled. It dropped me down to $522. This was probably 2-3 days ago. They didn't say, hey, do you accept the $522 or no? It went from $753 to $522 as soon as they canceled. They put an X on that particular trip ID. It's a T-type load starting with T, but it has 3 different trip IDs. So if any one of those trip IDs cancel, the payout changes without your approval. And you can't say, hey, well, okay, now, since you changed it to 522, I don't want to run it. You're still liable for the remaining legs. That's why I really don't like contract. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't want my truck tied up like that. I don't want to be bobtailing places to get a cancellation because they canceled when I arrived at the facility. So now I still pretty much am here. You might as well load me. Then I now got a deadhead to the next leg for my next pickup. So it could become a big headache. I've been seeing a lot of individuals that's complaining, you know, about those style of loads. But yeah, we're gonna get back into the topic at hand, you know, but it's good to answer questions. It is a live Q&A. So yeah, I don't have any problem answering questions, but you know, where we left off was sourcing and retaining drivers. It ain't easy. Talked about that. Next, sleep is for the weak. In business, not just the trucking industry, but more specifically, the trucking industry. You got a lot of long days, short nights. I've talked about this. Individuals need to be willing and prepared to run a 12 to 16 hour workday regularly. When you on the clock pertaining to running a business, you're almost always on call as well. That's something I talked about. 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. the phone ringing. Just like the guy I talked about with the day cab, you know, transmission leaking, driver calling, you got to answer. You got to get a tow truck, resources for maintenance, find out how you're going to pay for all of this, and so forth. 9 times out of 10, that guy that owned the truck with the leaky transmission was asleep. And he may have been, you know, with his significant other, you know, whatever. He had to get up, figure it out at whatever time that happens. So, like I said, in business, sleep is for the weak. You know, you got a lot of long days, short nights, 12 to 16 hours at a time. And you got to be up for the task at hand. Something else that I learned at a young age, and this pertains to business, why you need to stay working. The idle mind is the devil's workshop. Sitting in these trucks, wasting time, doing a whole lot of nothing leads to depression. In business, you begin to compare or comparison. You got jealousy, different emotions. You have to stay focused and stay busy within business. Like I said, this is something that a family member would say to me on a regular basis at a young age. The idle mind, sitting on your ass, doing a whole lot of nothing, is the devil's workshop. You find yourself doing a lot of strange things that are counterproductive to the task at hand. So, like I said, stay busy, stay focused, stay disciplined. Something I learned. You sit in that truck for too long, especially semi-drivers, because they have a day cab. So, or a sleeper, excuse me. But yeah, you got individuals that sit in these trucks for extended periods of time. They don't go work out. They don't go walk around. They don't do anything productive in their time off. They in their head, they in their thoughts, they're in their feelings. And then these emotions come out later on. And like I said, in business, it's no time to sit around. And why I say this leads into my next point. Like I said, it always goes hand in hand. Why you don't want to be doing this? Time is money. Ain't no money in the back of that truck sitting around, like I said, in your emotions, in your feelings, in your head. You need to get up and make stuff happen. Time is money in all aspects of life in general. I don't sit around waiting on nobody, hating on nobody, watching nobody determine when I move or none of that. I got my own schedule that I follow. You got people out here following other people's schedules. It's just a lot that goes on a day-to-day basis. How do you have time to do these type of things and then turn around and say you have no money? Everybody in life has things that they can be working on. Everybody got a purpose. Like I said, stay focused, stay disciplined, stay diligent. That's just something I want to, touch on. Next, because we're going to run right through this. I'm going to end this up here shortly. High overhead is stressful. I had to learn this. I came in, cargo van, financed it. Note was like $500-600 a month, low overhead, low insurance, good. Watching YouTube, decided I wanted to get into a box truck, rented a box truck while I was financing the van. It's all on YouTube. I had both of those at the same time. I was paying for a van that I was not using, renting a box truck week to week. At one point, I had a second box truck, so I was renting 2 box trucks week to week. So, like I said, I've had low overhead. I went into high overhead, and then now I'm back to, decent overhead, good overhead in my opinion. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And like I said, high overhead pertaining to business is stressful. It keeps you, just constantly scrambling, trying to, just get out of a rut and so forth. So in business, a lot of individuals are going to come in with higher overhead than necessary. But over time, you do want to work to get that overhead as low as possible. And you can only get it so low, but you do want to, once again, stay diligent about actively trying to decrease overhead within your business. Trying to maintain that high overhead for 2 and 3 years is going to stress you out. I'm telling you. If you're here and you haven't hit the like button for me one time. You catching this on the replay, hit the like button there as well. I do these off of the engagement. So if you want to see more content like this, engage. Hit the like button, drop a comment now and later. But yes, high overhead is stressful. It stress you out, make you get old quick. A lot more sleepless nights than the normal sleepless nights you already gonna have as a business owner. You already gonna have sleepless nights. If you got high overhead, more sleepless nights. A lot more. So I'm just telling you, decrease the overhead. Is very important. 1, for your peace of mind. 2, for longevity. Just being 100% honest with you. If you want to be in business for a long period of time, you're going to have to decrease overhead. Most people are going to start with higher overhead than necessary. Over time, first 1, 2, 3 years, you need to be trying to refinance, get rid of certain things that's not needed, just have a different understanding of cost and being more cost effective. Something else that I talk about on a regular basis. Why? Because that pertains to overhead. And I think it's very important. And I think when individuals really want to get into business, it's something that they don't pay attention to. You have to be cost effective with equipment, insurance, hiring drivers, services to run the business, and so forth. So that's just something I want individuals to think about. High overhead is stressful. Next, something I've said on a regular basis, say it again here, might have other people saying it. The turtle wins the race. Slow and steady to the finish line. I've seen a lot of individuals come in giddy. They come in gun-ho. They ready to go. Where? Out of business. That's the only place they headed. Really, really fast. So, like I've said, numerous different occasions, the turtle wins the race. Slow and steady to the finish line is going to get you there. Quick decisions, brash decisions, only going to lead you to one place. Like I said, that's out of business. So you have to keep that in mind. Slow and steady. Something else I had to learn. This is a good one. Somebody was saying, well, hey, one of my videos, I was driving in snow and they were saying, hey, you should be in the house right now. And I don't know, I might have forgot to, but I was going to tell them, chill. It don't pay the bills. So if you want to sit on your ass, play video games, play with your toys that you purchased from your box truck business or whatever that is, just realize the bills are still going to come once a month, on date, on time. So and a lot of individuals, they get caught up in this, that's what I just kind of talked about, that work-life balance, because being your own boss, making your own schedule, choosing when you come, choosing when you go can, in a sense, be counterproductive for certain individuals, especially if you're not organized, especially if you're not tracking expenses, especially if you don't understand costs, because you're sitting around wasting time. Once again, time is money. You're not making any money, because you're doing other things. And then ultimately like I said, the bills come. You pay the bills or you can't pay the bills, and then you realize you broke. So, like I said, chill, don't pay the bills. You got to have some type of balance on work and life. I 100% understand that, people have to have a rest, period. People have to have some type of, like I said, work-life balance, but too much of that is going to get you in trouble, to say the least. So you have to understand that. And finally, because like I said, I wanted this to be really quick, and where we at? Right up under an hour. Perfect. Ain't no friends in this box truck biz. Most of these relationships are circumstantial. A lot of individuals are associated with individuals, due to resources and things of that nature. But in my opinion, there are no friends in business. And it's never personal. I see a lot of individuals kind of get caught up with individuals and all this my, homie or whatever. It ain't your homie. Actually, he'll do you in for $2 a mile. Cut your legs off. So the people that you chat with on a day-to-day basis that you see out here, you're going to see a lot of them. You have to understand, ain't no real friends out here. You got to look out for you. It don't hurt to associate, but I was taught this at a young age as well. You have friends, and then you have acquaintances. Know the difference. In my opinion, most of the time, people you meet after 13 to 15 years old will never be a friend. They'll always be an acquaintance. Now, you do have special people that you may meet that, may fall into a category of a friend. Those are special individuals. But in my opinion, people you meet after 15 years old, especially males, them ain't your friends. And the sooner you understand that, the better you're going to do in life. You got friends and acquaintances. It's up to you to know the difference. Friends last forever. Acquaintances, they come and go. Once again, the sooner you understand this, the better you're going to do in life. And these are things that I, like I said, was taught at a young age and I always held on to. But, people get emotional about different things, different individuals that do not matter. Like, why you worried about her or why you worried about him? Like I said, you need to focus on you. And like I said, people waste time caught up and worry about other individuals. So I just reiterate one more time. Ain't no friends in this box. And just to rehash all of my points, I know that was more than 10, but I like to, always give a little more than expected. Low volume trumps rate per mile. That was first. The early bird gets the worm. Number 2, patience is a virtue. Number 3, ignorance, no excuse. Number 4, sourcing and retaining drivers ain't easy. Number 5, sleep is for the weak. Number 6, idle mind is the devil's workshop. Number 7, high overhead is stressful. Number 8, time is money. Number 9, the turtle wins the race. Number 10, chill, don't pay the bills. That was number 11. Yeah, we over. Ain't no friends in this box truck. So that was 12. Okay, we got 12. Ain't no friends in this box truck biz. And that's it. The 12 trucking truths that I've learned from being in this trucking industry for 6 years, and Man, I miss some Great Polo in the building. I see you. Appreciate you, Great Polo. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I was moving along. I missed some of this, but I'm gonna pop some of them up. Appreciate all y'all, man. Running Warrior, Max, Great Polo, Jeff, who I miss. Appreciate everybody. Alex, Quentin, Box Truck Gang. Appreciate you. Paul Lyons, Detroit in the building. FTS Joliet representing in the building. Appreciate you. Sherrod, appreciate you. Appreciate you. All my people. KMB for show. Number one, my boy. Appreciate you. I appreciate everybody, man, for tapping in with me. Like I said, I aspire to do more of these. You catching this on the replay for the engagement, hit the like button. If you're here right now, you have not done so, hit the like button as well. And that was my 10 trucking truths, or 12, you know, and we did it in about an hour. So, you know, that's what's up. That's what's up. But yeah, man, I ain't gonna make this too long and drawn out. It seems like, you know, people kind of like the shorter streams, get in, get out. And like I said, I could do 10 of these topics or talking points in, you know, well under an hour. But I appreciate everybody. Mad Trucker Podcast back sometime this week. I'm gonna surprise y'all with it. I see 15 people in here right now. If you ain't hit the like button, hit the like button for me one time. And yeah, man, I think I'm gonna end it here. If nobody else got nothing else for me, I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate you, Max. Yeah, check out that replay. If you haven't saw it from the beginning, tap in on the replay, hit the like button there, drop a comment. And yeah, man, it's been a good one. I like these quick in and out. You know, these are almost every day if I had the time. But yeah, I appreciate everybody that's in the building right now. I appreciate everybody that catch me on the replay. And yeah, I'm out. Appreciate y'all. Peace.